Friends in Christ, this time is called Pastor's Thoughts, and I have a few thoughts this week, so please forgive me if I ramble just a bit. We begin Lent today. Now, I love Lent because it's a time when I bump into my faith in a way that reminds me that it's not just something I do on Sundays, but is an integral part of my identity. It will start with ashes tonight, placed on my forehead, a reminder of my mortality, but also of the resurrection and new life I have received in my baptism when God and Jesus Christ claimed me. It will continue as I engage in the traditional Lenten practices of prayer, fasting, and generosity. Now, we do all these things not because we think it makes us more righteous than someone else, and not to have someone look at us and exclaim, "Oh, how holy and perfect we are." Rather, we do these things because, well, that's what Jesus did, and we follow him. This Lent, we will particularly focus on the practice of prayer at St. John. Now, prayer is just conversation with God, speaking, but also listening. It's something Jesus does frequently, and that believers have done since the beginning of our relationship with the Creator of heaven and earth. To help us in our practice, we'll be reading and following Michael Reinhardt's book, Learning to Pray Again, Peace and Joy Through an Ancient Practice. He has 40 very short, about page-and-a-half chapters, one for each of the days of Lent. Each day, Reinhardt will have some particular questions to reflect on or a prayer practice to try. And for this reason, my suggestion is if you don't have devotional time in the morning, perhaps read it the night before so that you can reflect on it throughout the following day. Reinhardt also suggests having a prayer journal to write in, or create a file on your phone to put your reflections on each day, or something on your computer. A way to record how your prayer practice went, or how you answer the reflection questions he has. Now, I strongly encourage you to write it down in some way, as that helps with retaining that information or reflections. Finally, I invite you to think of this book like a smorgasbord. Each day, you'll be presented with new questions or a new prayer practice. It'll give you just a taste of what that practice could be when engaged with over a longer period of time. So, I'm going to sound like your mother now. Try everything. If you don't like it, great. You'll be moving on tomorrow anyway. But if you do like it, make a note of it so that you can come back to it at a later time. Finally, I've been thinking about the invasion of Ukraine and the war there. It is most appropriate that we are entering Lent at this time. War reminds us of our own mortality and how fragile a thing it is. It reminds us of the sinfulness of ourselves and our fellow human beings. During Lent, we will be following Jesus as he journeys to Jerusalem and his own encounter with the madness and brutality of violence that can too often overtake us as human beings. As he responds to that violence, not in kind with drawn swords and uprisings, but with a prayer of compassion. Father, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. As a follower of Jesus, as a called and ordained minister of the Church of Christ, I join my prayers with other believers to call war what it is, a sin against God and humanity. It is, as Pope Francis said, a shameful capitulation, a stinging defeat before the forces of evil. I pray that peace would prevail, that arms will be laid down and the violence would cease, that God will shelter the innocent, will thwart the plans of those who would rule by violence and brute force, and will embolden and empower the peacemakers. At this moment in history, I am thankful that it is Lent, that I have set myself on a path of intentional growth in prayer, that I am reminded of the reality of human sin, including my own, and that because I have walked this Lenten journey before, I know that in the end, the bountiful love of God that is made manifest in Jesus Christ wins. And so I echo the words of the late Bishop Desmond Tutu that are captured in our ELW, hymn 721. Goodness is stronger than evil. Love is stronger than hate. Light is stronger than darkness. Life is stronger than death. Victory is ours. Victory is ours through God who loves us. Victory is ours. Victory is ours through God who loves us. Thanks be to God.